My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubeau. And have you ever wondered how someone turned a late start in real estate investing into a skyrocketing net worth? Well, today, my guest, Michele Albohn from Compass Mortgage, she's here to share her incredible journey from beginner to real estate investor. Michele, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And so tell everyone a little bit more about this. I guess it's calling it a late start. So tell me a little bit more about how you got started in real estate.
I've always enjoyed real estate, always wanted to be an investor. I had a business previously before I got into mortgages doing healthcare finance and financial planning for seniors. I had actually made quite a bit of money where I had some that I wanted to diversify with because I did have my portfolio of investments and my retirement. So 6 years ago, I bought 4 properties at once, which I'll never do again, and started my journey there. So I usually always put 25% down. So I bought 4 at once. And now I sold a few of them, and they actually turned out to be one of the biggest profits I've ever made.
How long did you hold on to them for?
The ones I sold were 5 years total.
Yeah, 5 years is right about where they start to bubble over. So tell everyone a little bit more about this 4 properties at a time. That must have been hectic at the closing table. Were they a package deal, or how did that go?
No, I also made it more difficult on myself by purchasing in different states. So I had 2 in North Carolina, 1 in Florida, and 1 in Tennessee that I bought all at once.
So what motivated you to buy them all at once?
At the time, I think it's just insanity, actually. It just kind of worked out that way where we found the one in Florida, turned out to be a good long-term rental in downtown St. Petersburg, and kind of spiraled into the other ones. And I think it was just trying to get them done all at once was easier than not, but I think one at a time from now on.
Yeah, one at a time. I mean, you can do a bunch of acquisitions, but to start off jumping in like that, that had to been definitely a crash course in closing property there. So
yes.
With it being in different states and being that they're long-term holds, tell people a little bit more about how you're able to manage those properties from a distance.
Property managers are key, and it's very important to find really good property managers. I've had ups and downs with them and some issues with some of them. I was in New York at the time when I originally bought my properties, so all of them were long distance. Now the ones I have in Tennessee are basically self-managed. One of them is a short-term rental, and we manage that ourselves. And just finding a good property manager, and definitely interview more than one, is ideal.
So what would you say your biggest obstacle was getting to where you are today?
Not having anyone to guide me at first. Basically did it on my own. I mean, late start, I was in my 40s. So just doing my own research and looking into different properties and property managers and using all the tools online to kind of figure out what the rents will be, researching Trulia and apartments.com to figure out if the numbers made sense for me without having someone knowledgeable on the other side to help. I think having a real estate agent that knows investments is extremely important. And wherever you're getting the financing from is also extremely important, because you need someone that understands your return on investment. You have to know what your numbers are going to look like, what it's going to cost you out of pocket, and any like worst case scenarios. So it's important to have a good team around you.
Yeah, it's I think it's Henry Ford. He talks he gets on trial for monopoly, and he's like, well, I don't need to know everything. I have a team of people that I
Right.
can ask questions to get the answers that I need. So, um, with everything you've done so far, what would you say your unfair advantage is? What comes easy to you that other people might find difficult to do?
Stay calm when things go wrong, I guess. There's always going to be something that happens with your properties. It's just the nature of the beast. I think going back to the team, having a really good team behind you to, if you're out of state or you're even just a few hours away and you have a pipe issue or some other type of issue with your tenants, someone could get out there and help you and alleviate some of that stress. So I think staying calm is something that really helps me be able to do what I need to do with the properties.
Yeah, you don't want to be getting
Freaking out.
yeah emotional about it.
Yes.
To stay calm and and process the issues as they come. So, what does the future hold? What are you looking to do with the portfolio or with the business as it goes?
I'm holding the ones that I have, the 3 that I do have, and I'm looking to potentially invest in Northern Kentucky. Seems like a very up and coming area where they're putting a lot of money, billions of dollars into, and the prices are still relatively low, where you can make a good return, and the numbers tend to work there.
Like the cash flow numbers, you mean?
Cash flow numbers work, return will work. Their rents are high enough to make sense, because I've looked at other areas and it just some of the rents are
Yeah,
just too
sometimes
low.
you can buy it for cheap, but the rents aren't aren't
Cheaper.
yeah, the rents aren't quite there yet. So, um, what's the biggest obstacle in rolling that out as you move forward with the plans of 2024 and beyond?
Just finding the right property and making sure I do get as much information as possible, looking for the right realtors to make sure that they're on the ground there, they know the market, they're gonna make sure if they tell me rents are a certain number that I could truly believe that. And I'm also making sure that I'm in driving distance within a few hours to wherever I'm gonna purchase, so, I'm definitely not gonna buy anything sight unseen. I wanna be there, I wanna see the property, I wanna make sure there's nothing wrong with it, and,
Mhm.
also look at the surrounding areas because I think that is also a big thing to look at when you're buying a property to make sure the area is also where there's not only growth, but maybe other activities that people can do.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest thing too is like when I go and look at a property, I always like to drive around the block, check the back lane. Like the
Yep.
front street might look fine. And if you're buying like over Facebook video with the realtor, they can kind of show you the best sides of a
Yes.
property to get the transaction done. So while people do invest at a distance, I've yet to be the one that buys anything without going and looking at it. That's typically why I'm in the markets that I'm in. So, um, when you're looking at the deals that you're doing, what's your plans for the funding coming up in this next acquisition season?
I definitely will be getting loans on them and leveraging
Mhm.
other people's money. So I'll be getting, depends on if I'm going to look at a short term or long term, potentially a DSCR or maybe something conventional if I'm going long term. But I always put at least 20 to 25% down of my own money.
Perfect. So you work with or rather for Compass Mortgage, is that correct?
Yes.
And so I'm guessing you probably use their products when you're purchasing your stuff as well.
Yes, we have a complete suite of products for investors from your first time investor to, people with more than 10 properties, spec building, DSCR, fix and flip. So it's very easy to go with the products that we have.
And so is that nationwide?
We're licensed in 21 states out of the 50.
So if if people want to find more information about it, what would you say you're seeing as far as the trends for people? Because right now, sub two is big. People are assuming mortgages like crazy. They're trying to
Yeah.
buy the deeds and the titles in that way. Um, as a broker, what are you seeing as far as the trends on the financing side?
People are looking more at DSCR loans. There are a lot of clients that either have multiple businesses or don't want to go through the conventional loan process. They want the money a little bit easier. And they're technically, they're mostly going towards that because it does make more sense to go DSCR.
Mm-hmm. And is that just because of the type of client that they are, that you're seeing like less conventional mortgages coming through?
It's right now it's 50-50. I work with a lot of first time investors. So we'll normally go to a conventional loan for their first purchase as long as they could do it. DSCRs for anyone who's doing, bigger purchases and short-term rentals.
Stuff that needs a different type of financing. So
Yes. Hmm.
as someone who's in the industry, what do you see going on? I'm sure you get this question all the time, but what's your take on the interest rate position and where it's going?
We will definitely see reduced interest rates this year. They were initially saying we were going to have 6 reductions by the feds. Now they're saying 4. Rates today are a little up and down, but I would say realistically by the end of second half of this year, we should start seeing more rate cuts and rates below 6 possibly or low sixes.
So if people are doing their numbers, they should still be using 6 as their calculation probably for the rest of the year.
If they purchase towards the end of the year, yeah.
Yeah, right now I think we're 7.6 or something like that.
Yeah,
Depends on what lending position you're in or if you're a first time
right.
buyer and things like that. So what would you say is holding people back the most from, getting financing these days? And how do you guys help them navigate that?
There are a lot of people who call me that have no idea where to invest in or really what they're looking for. I get because I'm in East Tennessee, a lot of people call about the Smoky Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
They still think that this area you can buy something, for under 300,000 and make, 100,000 a year with the traffic we get at the Smoky Mountains, but that it's not the same anymore. So I'm trying to tell people there are many other states and cities that have better return on your investment than the Smoky Mountains. I'm not saying don't invest in the Smoky Mountains, but it's not as the numbers don't always work the best there, depending on how much you're getting it for and if you're putting work in it and what its history on Airbnb was. So that I'm telling people, look into possibly Memphis, Tennessee. You get good numbers out there. Louisville, Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, Southern Indiana. Those are all really good places to invest right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's almost like the Florida syndrome. Once it's a common conversation,
Yep.
usually that's when the profitability is starting to slide off to a position where I guess the saying is miss the boat.
Yep.
So it's like um when you look at the future, because a lot of the Smoky Mountains, from what I understand, is short-term rentals, maybe midterm
Yeah.
rentals, right? How are they being affected? Are they pushing on the legislation for the Airbnb as well, or is it mostly unaffected?
It's unaffected there. It seems like more and more people are moving towards the Knoxville area to do rentals. Like Chattanooga is very difficult to get anything short term in if you're within a certain distance from the downtown area. Knoxville has the downtown area, you can't really do short term, but we're in need of long term rentals here.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to tell people if you really are interested in East Tennessee, you can buy a house and rent it and make really good ROI on it for
Hmm.
long term.
Yeah, it seems like that's the answer. I'm not 100% sure that there's so many Airbnbs that we have to shut them down because that's going to make so many more rentals. But I guess we'll see what it does. I don't see that the inventory is like that, but maybe they did more research than my opinion. My gut feeling is
Mhm.
that you could take all the Airbnbs and make them all permanent long-term rentals, and there's still an issue with you have to build more houses at the end of the day. This isn't a
Yes.
It's just going to
Yeah.
be people, there's still people staying in these things from time to time. So what would you say when it comes down to financing? Like, do you guys do the financing on larger multi-units and commercial mixed use and things like that?
Right now, we're only doing up to 8 units and nothing commercial at this point, or
Okay.
residential.
So because I know that the main thing with it seems like the construction of the city determines the availability of these multi-units, because some places have tons of
Hmm.
fours, some places have tons of threes, and the further up north, like towards like Detroit and Ohio, they've got lots of twos. And so
Hmm.
what are you seeing when you're looking, because you're looking for some more holds? Are you sticking mostly into the single families, or are you looking also at like multiple door properties as well?
Just single family. I haven't found anything in multifamily that didn't need some work, and I'm not into doing any type of, construction. I want kind of turnkey on what I'm purchasing. So I haven't found anything that really works for me that's multifamily, but like you said, it depends on the areas. Here in Knoxville, there's pretty much almost no um, multi-units here.
Hmm.
They're all single family. There's a few condo buildings, but nothing multi-unit. Hopefully they'll start building those, but there are plenty of cities that have them.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of like in this market that I work in, there's no real apartment buildings. Like, there's tons of single families, and there's, a good amount of twos, but it seems like there was always enough houses, single families, that they only had to build these apartment blocks, and that was
Hmm.
enough. Whereas in some other markets, especially the Eastern United States, oh, buy a 100-unit apartment block
Yeah.
for a couple
Hmm.
$1 million, whereas 20 units here is like $4 million. So it's
Yeah.
the supply and demand. So when you look at um, bringing other people's money into the fold, what are some strategies that you're using to, get new connections or keep those old connections interested in investing in that next project that you're looking at?
I just try and give them as much information when something comes up in the area or there's a property that, because I watch real estate all the time. I look in different areas. So if I see a property I think might be good for one of my investors, I have a lot of people on the fence right now because
Mhm.
of the way rates are.
Yeah.
So I think as we go through the year, once I start seeing things, I send them uh, budgets so that they could take a look and see what the numbers look like for them, how much it'll cost them, what they're looking at bringing in every month. Some of our products, they just use Air DNA as income projection. So if
Hmm.
those numbers work, I send them the information to see if it's something they're interested in.
Yeah, because we want to make sure, and I think that's the biggest thing that uh, people, the people who have trouble raising money don't ask enough questions about what the money wants to do with their money. It seems like
Hmm.
they're most interested in like using the money. It's like, okay, great, but what about the person's that's investing? What about their goals? So this is probably not so much a trick question, but I'm sure I feel like I already know the
Okay.
answer. Are you a find the deal and then the money person, or do you prefer to have your capital lined up and then go looking for deals?
Find the deal.
Oh, see, I thought I would have figured as a broker you would have been making sure that you had the money lined up and then going looking for deals. So tell me about that. I guess your comfort with the mortgage products and the lending no gives you the mindset, hey, I can
Yes.
finance this thing. So have you ever been in a jam financing a deal, or do you play it a little bit more conservatively?
No, I'm conservative with it. I would always recommend anyone who's getting into investing, don't do that. Definitely get your financing lined up and then look for your deals. So that way you know what price range you're looking at, how much you need to make on those investments, how much rent you have to collect or Airbnb income to be able to cover what your expenses are at least.
Yeah, don't buy four at a time and
Don't buy four at a time.
get your money together and get started. So,
Yes.
um, when you do get a particular deal and someone says, you know what, I like this thing, tell me a little bit more about the process when you're presenting to that potential investor.
I show them a detailed budget where they can see the property purchase price, what its anticipated projection will be for that area over usually 5 years. Sometimes I'll do 10 years. I'll show them what the income generated is and then what they qualify for as a loan so they know what their interest rate is. I look up the taxes and insurance to give them a full picture of what's going on. So that way they could see, okay, I'm going to be neutral cash flow on this, but the appreciation in this area is going to explode. So I could make a good return in 10 years. Or is this something I'm looking for to get a decent cash flow coming every month?
Right out of the gate. So,
Right.
I think the one of the big things for people to invest significant capital is the whole like no trust framework. And so,
Yes.
what are some ways that you're able to do that, or what are some things that you do as part of your capital raising or your business to, let people like, know, and trust you?
I just I basically just relate to people. And because I have invested before, when I first started investing, I went with someone who had never invested before. So that's one reason why I had issues. And also the realtors that I chose from the different states, they also didn't have experience. So I explain to people my experience. I go over information with them. I make sure that they're comfortable with it and just be upfront about all costs and my experiences and what I know about the markets that I'm, usually in as far as
Mhm.
whether it's primary residences or investments. And I think just being honest with people and telling them, being real, like I made a mistake doing this or I did this and I know I wouldn't do it again.
Mm.
So I think when you start to talk to people, just being down to earth, they will start to like and trust you. And I just give them information and I don't push people because it is a big decision. It's a big jump to take a portion of your money and put it into a property when you've never invested before. You don't know what it's like to have a tenant. You don't know what it's like to, order supplies for your Airbnb or find the right cleaning people or, do
Mhm.
turnovers. So I think they look for that guidance. And also having other people like good property managers in the area that I could have them talk to as well also helps.
Mm. So, before we wrap up, is there anything about mortgage, the mortgage company that maybe I haven't asked you about that you feel people should know?
Uh, it's a great mortgage company, and we have a lot of products that help a lot of people. We want you to get your loan through. We want you to invest if that's what you want to do. We do webinars all the time to educate people on how to finance investments and the different types of investments. So we're very investor friendly. Um, I specialize in working with investors, usually first time investors with either just getting into their first property or maybe their second.
Hmm.
Um, so we're always working together to get people to where they want to be.
Nice. So, if people want to connect with you, they want to find out more, what should they do? How do they find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I communicate with a lot of people through Instagram. I guess I can give you
Yeah. What's the handle?
it's mortgages and bourbon because I'm also a bourbon drinker. So
There you go.
mortgages and bourbon, spell out and. You can also text me. That's also the fastest way to get me. My number is 865-242-6645. Those are the two best ways, other than Googling me and finding me out there.
Yeah, you always know when someone's serious on the podcast when they're willing to drop their phone number right there. So perfect. I
There
appreciate
you
that.
go.
And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show and letting people know a little bit more about the mortgage product and what's going on there in the Tennessee and what's going on with the Airbnb stuff.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.